So, before we start, frequency check. This isn't entertainment. This is exposure. Some conversations don't entertain, they expose. So, step into the light with me. Again, this is Jamie Unfiltered, episode 2. So, I'm going to say this clean. This episode made me angry. Not emotional, but angry. Because episode 2 isn't just about one man. It's about what happens when a whole ecosystem decides that power matters more than people. And if you're here for gossip, don't mind my background noise. It's my daughter in the background singing. My son's playing jazz. Just, we're talking. I can't do anything. I can't do anything about the kids right now. They're doing their thing. I'm letting them, okay? But I got to get this done. I got to get this done. If you're here for gossip, you're in the wrong room. This isn't Jamie. This isn't Jamie Gossips. This is Jamie Unfiltered. We do truth, pattern recognition, and cultural consequence. Just so we're clear. So before I go in, let me set the frame. This is commentary, not legal advice, not a court ruling, not a take this to trial moment. I'm responding to a docuseries and to publicly reported information. And I'm giving you a cultural and spiritual analysis of what power does when nobody checks in. And yes, this is based on the Netflix docuseries, Sean Combs' The Reckoning. 4 episodes, executive produced by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson and directed by Alexandria Stapleton. That's her name. Also, for basic factual context, as of late December 2025, the AP reports that Sean Diddy Combs is incarcerated in New Jersey, I think. Yeah, New Jersey. That's where Fort Dix is or something like that. Go check it out if you're interested. Other than that, that's not what's as important. However, he's serving a federal sentence after being convicted on 2 Mann Act related counts and acquitted of more serious racketeering and sex trafficking charges, with an appeal seeking release or reduced sentencing that he's currently asking for, according to the AP News. Now, here's the point. My focus is not the celebrity. My focus is the system. Because the system is what keeps repeating. Episode 2 isn't just here's what happened. Episode 2 is here's what power does behind the curtain. So it shows how fear becomes policy. Not written policy, social policy. People learn what they can't say, who they can't challenge, and what happens when you do. It shows how access becomes a gag. Access becomes currency. And silence becomes the price of admission. It shows how whole communities get trained to normalize dysfunction. Because the dysfunction is attached to success. money, and visibility. And this is why I was angry. Because when you grow up watching an era in real time, you don't always realize you're watching a machine eat people. I'm a Xennial. I've watched this unfold while our culture was being shaped. And now I'm seeing the blueprint underneath it. And it's heartbreaking, man. Now, we're going to talk about a word people get uncomfortable with. Some people in the Black community use the word boule as shorthand, not always as a literal membership claiming or membership claim, but as a symbol of Black elite networks where power protects itself for Black folk. So let me be clear. Sigma Pi Phi, also known as the boule, is a real Black professional fraternity founded in 1904, according to Wikipedia. I am not accusing that organization of running celebrity crimes, and I'm not claiming any specific person is a member. So why am I using the language at all? Because culturally, people aren't always talking about a fraternity. They're talking about a pattern. And the pattern is naming. The pattern I'm naming. The pattern I'm naming is this: elite insulation. Elite insulation is when proximity to power becomes more valuable than integrity. Reputation becomes more protected than human bodies. Money becomes more protected than truth. And the inner circle becomes a spiritual shield for behavior that should have been confronted. These elite insulations is the we handle it privately culture. Elite insulation is the don't ruin the brand or the church or the pastor or the company culture. Elite insulation is the we can't lose the deal culture. Elite insulation is the you're lucky to be here, don't mess it up culture. And here's the part we don't like to admit. People aren't always silent because they're only afraid. Sometimes they're silent because they're invested in the access, invested in the relationships, invested in the industry protection, invested in the money pipeline. That's not conspiracy. That's human behavior in a system that rewards silence. We were told a simple story: East Coast versus West Coast, a neat narrative, a digestible headline. But when you zoom out, the deeper story looks like this: power killed purity, profit rewarded chaos, ego turned men into idols, and an industry learned how to monetize Black conflict like a product. And we lost so many people, but specifically two of the most. Man, they were so young. Pop and Biggie. Their lives were lost off of a false narrative. And if you want to be honest, a lot of what we call culture was shaped by who had the checks, who controlled the press, who controlled the rooms, who controlled the artists, who could punish you socially if you didn't comply. Not everything is a master plan, but the incentives were real. And when incentives reward dysfunction, dysfunction multiplies. That's what episode 2 made me sit with. Not who did what, but what kind of environment makes this normal, man? Look, my kids are killing me with this music. But we're getting through this episode. I'm going to get this out. You're just going to have to tolerate the Christmas spirit. Now, when I say systems, I'm not just talking about record labels, because history already showed us something. The US government has documented programs that surveilled, infiltrated, and disrupted domestic political movements, including Black organizations. COINTELPRO, COINTELPRO, is how you say it. COINTELPRO is documented. It's not a rumor. It's documented. According to the FBI's documents and Wikipedia. Look it up. COINPro. Am I saying the government created every hip hop conflict? No. I'm saying this. When you know there's precedent for disruption, you stop being naive about how power moves. And you start realizing Black unity has always been expensive in America. And destabilizing Black leadership has always been useful to somebody. So whether through profit, pressure, surveillance, or manipulation, power benefits when we are divided, distracted, and devouring each other. That's the cost. Episode 2 showed victims, but I saw something deeper, casualties of an entire environment. And I'm not talking about the famous stories. I'm talking about the invisible people, employees, assistants, creatives, workers, women who knew too much, men who saw too much, people who traded their intuition, their discernment for a paycheck because they needed stability. People who lost their voice trying to survive the room. Because when power is unchecked, it doesn't just harm one person, it creates a culture where everyone learns how to adapt to danger. And where there is fear, plus silence, plus worship, plus money, plus unaccountability, there's always a spiritual consequence. Call it darkness, call it deception, call it corruption, or whatever name you choose. It's always leaving a trail. My kids decided to let me finish my last sections of this episode in peace by cutting off their music. They're so great. Back to what I was talking about. I'm going to say this carefully. As a Black woman, as a mother, and yes, as a widow, this hit me in a place I didn't expect, because you don't live long in this world as a Black woman without learning what it feels like to watch potential get wasted, people get exploited, violence get normalized, and harm get ignored until it becomes profitable to talk about. Episode 2 wasn't sad, it was familiar. It felt like the part of history we never got closure on, like ancestral grief resurfacing with new receipts. And that's why my anger is not drama, it's discernment. Because I know what it costs when communities protect the wrong people. Let's name the formula. When people don't speak because of fear, NDAs, intimidation, losing access, losing income, losing community, losing protection, and elites protect each other, the people who get crushed become collateral expendable. And I'm going to say this line again because it is the thesis of the episode. Black culture didn't fail. Black elites failed the culture. I stand on that. Not all elites, not every successful Black person, but the elite mindset that values proximity over people that failed us. Because real leadership protects the vulnerable. Real leadership confronts harm. Real leadership doesn't need a graveyard of dreams to stay powerful. So yes, this episode was a reckoning. Not just for him, but for us. Because we finally see the cost of everything we celebrated. The access, the parties, the money, the myth, the silence, the brand. And I'm not here to shame our younger selves. We didn't have the full picture. We weren't mature like we are today. But now we do. And when you see clearly, you have a responsibility. If you want the rest of this series uncut, clear, and spiritually grounded, subscribe and turn on notifications, because I'm not doing hot takes. I'm doing cultural truth with a spine. This is Jamie Unfiltered, and this needed to be said. In the next episode, the darkness. Not what was said, what was felt. The mask slips and the enablers become undeniable. I'll catch you in the next episode.
Let's enjoy this freedom, love. Get into this feeling. Get into this feeling. Let's enjoy this